Hey guys, so I have another requested video today. This one was actually surprisingly highly requested, and that is a video about how to make your clothing last longer. Now, I've got to say, I almost wasn't going to make this video because there are already so many videos and blog posts and Pinterest pins out there all about this topic, and these tips in this video are by no means original or made up completely by me. They are really just my personal favorite tips for making my clothes last as long as they possibly can, so hopefully you can get some ideas for yourself. Also, throughout this video, I'm only really talking about more special items of clothing, and those could be designer pieces or thrifted or vintage, or just anything else that you really like that maybe you can't repurchase because it's no longer available, or it's like a one-off piece, because those are the things that we really want to make sure last. So these are just my personal favorite tips that I use all the time to make sure that my most favorite and special clothing lasts for as long as possible. So starting out, I'm going to talk about washing your clothes, and reality is that the more we wash our clothes, the quicker they will wear away, so we want to try and wash them as little as possible. Only wash your clothing if it doesn't smell good, or if you've sweat in it, like gym clothing, if you've worn it in a dirty or dusty environment, and of course if it's visibly dirty or stained. Exceptions to these points would obviously be things like socks and underwear and swimwear. Those things you should be washing after one use, of course. Now, I bet you're wondering, what about things like jeans or shorts, or anything else that maybe sits very close to the body? You really still don't need to wash these after every use. A great tip for those is after you've worn them, hang them up in an open environment to let them air out. You could just throw them over a chair or place them on a drying rack. You could even hang them up somewhere outside, which would be even better. This really allows the air to just circulate through the fibers of the fabric. This makes a massive difference, and it will allow you to get more wear out of something before needing to wash it again. Now, I bet you're wondering, what do you do if you want to wear that like super special designer or dry clean only dress and it's like 40 degrees Celsius outside? In that case, you can always try using those little disposable armpit shields. Save these for times when you're worried about sweating in anything special and you want to avoid having to wash it just because it got a little sweaty. Next, I'm going to be talking about care labels, and it is really important to make sure you follow the care labels of your clothing items. This is pretty much your safest bet for making sure nothing goes wrong and making sure you can keep your item in really good condition. Even if one of my favorite clothing items is machine washable, I will often put it in a delicates bag just to be extra safe. My friend recently bought this super cute vintage denim dress. It was actually in one of my past vlogs. You might have spotted it. I don't think it had a care label, and she just put it in a regular cold wash and it ended up shrinking, which was super weird and unexpected. It was all okay because the dress was a little bit big for her anyway, so it all worked out. So basically, if you have a clothing item that you've never washed before and it doesn't have a care label, you should be okay to gently hand wash it in cold water with a gentle soap. But on the other hand, if it's something like a coat or a knit or anything a little bit more delicate or kind of iffy when it comes to washing, it's probably best to take that to maybe a dry cleaner, or maybe even just look up online how to wash what kind of fabric you think it is. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, just be as cautious as possible and just try to avoid washing it if you can. Continuing on with another tip that's related to washing, try to avoid tumble drying. Having your item roll around in warm or hot air hitting against other clothing items is just going to add wear to it. So leave the tumble drying for your durable or less special clothing items, and for the rest of the items, just hang dry or lay flat to dry out of direct sunlight. And by the way, when you do tumble dry, make sure that you always turn your clothing inside out, because even if it does pill, it will pill on the inside of the clothing, not on the outside where you can see it. And I will now talk a little bit more about pilling in my next tip. How much does it suck when you have a clothing item that you love so much that you wear it all the time, but then of course it pills really, really fast. Pilling is basically like these tiny little balls of fabric fibers that are caused by the fabric rubbing against itself, or maybe rubbing against something else like a handbag or other clothing. There are plenty of methods and tools you can use to remove pilling, and this one I'm about to share is not one I made up myself, it's just my personal favorite, and you can do it just using things that you have around the house. What you will need is a very old blunt razor. Make sure it's not a brand new razor, and then a lint roller. Taking the razor, very gently glide this over the pilling as if you're shaving it off. Start off really gentle because you don't know what the fabric's going to be like or how it's going to react. So just be super gentle at first, but if you think the fabric can handle it, increase your pressure slightly if it helps remove the pilling better. I have accidentally ripped tiny holes in my clothing before because I just was really rough with the razor, so just make sure you don't do that. The pilling will detach from the clothing, so then you can go in with your lint roller or even just some pieces of sticky tape to gently remove the pilling. Look at this, guys, before and after shot. It seriously makes such a big difference. Now, obviously, you should not be using this on any delicate fabrics. I think you guys will definitely be able to use your common sense on this one. There are some types of fabrics that we know you would not want to go anywhere near with even a blunt razor. So yeah, just make sure you're quite cautious of the type of fabric. Remember that shaving off pilling could maybe start to thin the fabric a little bit. This hasn't actually ever happened to me. Keep that in mind, and yeah, try not to do this too often, just enough to remove the pilling. My next tip is to handle your clothing with care. Now, I never really realized how delicately I handled things until you guys pointed it out in the comments of a lot of my videos. And I think I do sort of have a very gentle way of handling my clothing and just other things. And it could be to do with my long nails, because maybe I'm either afraid of breaking my nails or I'm afraid that my long nails will scratch my clothing or whatever I'm holding. So basically, when you are taking off an item of clothing, especially something you have to pull over your head, just try and take your time and be gentle with it. Don't just yank it over your head or pull at the sleeves. This can stretch out the elastic. This can even kind of stretch it out of shape and do other kinds of damage to it. So just really handle those special clothing items like they are your little babies. Just be really gentle with them. Even if you're wearing an item of clothing, be cautious if you pull up the sleeves because it will start to stretch out the elastic on the cuffs. If you guys remember that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where the doctor forces Larry to pull his sleeve up and then it gets all stretched out. Anyway.
Look what you did to my shirt.
What did I do with it?
It's not clinging anymore.
It's not clinging?
It's not clinging to the wrist the way it's supposed to.
So basically just try and handle your clothing items as if they are a lot more delicate than they actually are. My next tip is something that I do all the time, and I'm sure a lot of you guys just do this already and it's not even intentionally trying to make your clothes last, but change into your less precious clothing while you're just at home. If you're just hanging out at home, relaxing, cooking or cleaning or anything else really, I think it's better to just try and wear your less precious clothing, because the more you wear it, the more likely it is you'll have to wash it, or it could even get dirty without you realizing. Mini story time now. A little while ago, I was wearing my black Juicy Couture tracksuit and I was cleaning the bathroom using bleach, and I spilled this tiny little drop of bleach onto the pants, but luckily I was able to fix it just by coloring it in with black permanent marker, and to this day I have no idea where that bleach mark is on my pants because I think it obviously fixed it up very well. And those are things that are actually designed to be worn at home. I still wear my Juicy tracksuit at home, but it was just a really good reminder to be mindful of the kind of things you're wearing around the house, because If you choose to put on something really cute and you think you're gonna go out that day, then you have a change of plans and you're like, I'm gonna go clean with bleach now. I think it's just really important to remember to change into something a little bit less precious. My final tip for you guys is to try and store your clothing away from light and dust. We all know that clothing racks are super in at the moment, especially to display your most cute or favorite or aesthetically pleasing clothing that you're wearing at the moment, especially because it can complement the decor of the room where you're displaying it. Generally though, try and keep your most precious clothing stored away from the light, both sunlight and artificial light. Storing it in your closet or cupboard or wardrobe will also help keep it away from the dust. Now, if your wardrobe is overflowing or you don't have a ton of storage space, it's totally fine, of course, to still use a clothing rack. Just try and only keep kind of less special things. I feel like I've said this so much in this video, like less precious and less special, but yeah, just try and keep your less important clothing items on the clothing rack and keep your special stuff stored away. So those are all of my personal favorite methods that I like to use for making sure my favorite clothing lasts as long as possible. Of course, there are a ton more tips out there. There are literally like videos dedicated to just washing your clothes alone to make them last. Feel free to share your tips below, but the catch is that it has to be a really unusual tip, something that like only you know that you use, or something that you've never read online before, because that's what I'd really like to hear. That would be really useful. So if you have any unusual tips for making your clothes last, please share them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be doing a back to school lookbook. A few of the last items I needed for that just arrived today, so I can finally start filming it. So please look forward to that video, and otherwise I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys!